Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something really fascinating and honestly super important. Artificial intelligence is completely transforming healthcare right now, right? I mean, its promise in dementia care is just staggering. We're talking about everything from smart reminders to these highly sophisticated AI-driven diagnostics supporting millions of patients and caregivers all over the world. But there's a catch. We tend to think of AI as this super intelligent, flawless, perfectly objective brain. But in reality, it's kind of just a mirror. It literally only reflects what we show it. And if we only show it a narrow slice of humanity, well, that reflection gets pretty distorted. So that brings us to the core mystery we're unraveling today. Is AI dementia tech actually working for everyone? It's time we shatter this myth that AI is perfectly objective. Because behind all the massive hype and the shiny new tech, there's a hidden challenge that threatens to leave millions of vulnerable people totally behind. We really need to ask ourselves, who exactly is this technology being built for? And maybe more importantly, who is being completely left out of the equation? All right, let's get into Section 1, the hidden bias in AI and uncovering the flaw in the algorithms. So what exactly is AI bias? Basically, it happens when algorithms fail to represent the full diversity of the human experience, and that leads to skewed or totally unequal outcomes. You see, AI systems aren't just born smart. They have to learn from data, and that training data fundamentally reflects the societal biases of the people who gather it and create it. Simply put, if the data going in is skewed, the decisions coming out are gonna be skewed. It really is that simple, and honestly, it's that dangerous. Now, we aren't just making this up. This is grounded in serious science. A 2024 study in Nature Medicine lays it out perfectly. They found that healthcare AI models often perform unevenly across ethnic and socioeconomic groups. Why? Specifically because their training data underrepresents minorities, women, and older adults. Just think about the irony there for a second. We're building tech meant for aging populations, yet older adults are systematically underrepresented in the very data used to train the software. It's wild. And these aren't just, theoretical little glitches. We're seeing actual technical failures causing real-world harm. For instance, speech recognition systems are mostly trained on younger, standard English speakers, so they routinely misinterpret the speech of an elderly person who might have a regional accent or mild aphasia. Plus, according to the MIT Technology Review, facial recognition algorithms frequently misread emotions in people of color, just because they were trained on really narrow, non-inclusive image datasets. I mean, think about it. If the tool literally cannot understand your voice or read your face accurately, how could it possibly diagnose your cognitive health? Moving on to Section 2, the data representation gap. Let's look at who is actually missing from the data. There is a massive, stark contrast in who gets to shape this technology. The data predominantly includes Western, urban, affluent, younger English speakers. The World Alzheimer's Report points out that these are the folks most AI tools are trained on. But who is actually at risk? Millions of individuals living in rural, low-income regions across Africa, Latin America, and Southeast Asia, not to mention countless diverse cultures all over the globe. People on the global south are at a severe risk of misdiagnosis or just total exclusion because the AI simply doesn't recognize their baseline reality. The medical stakes here are just incredibly high. Look, dementia isn't just about forgetting where you put your keys. Cultural variations heavily dictate how memory loss is actually expressed and observed. So if an AI model is built on a narrow Western dataset, those cultural nuances are going to completely confuse it. And what does that lead to? Well, it leads to false positives, where someone is incorrectly diagnosed with cognitive decline. Or even worse, false negatives, where someone desperately needing help is sent home and told they're perfectly fine. Which brings us to Section 3, economics and ethical stakes. Let's talk about the compounding cost of this exclusion. Because, bias isn't only a technical issue, it's a deeply economic one, too. Based on 2023 findings from the World Health Organization, the barriers to access are just massive. First, you have costly devices that completely exclude millions of people in low-resource settings. Then, unstable internet completely prevents the use of cloud-based diagnostics. And on top of that, language and literacy barriers mean that even if an app is affordable, if it's only developed in English, it immediately alienates caregivers who speak other languages or maybe lack digital literacy. So, the absolute crucial point you need to take away here is this. Instead of leveling the playing field, flawed dementia tech actually reinforces health inequality. It heavily favors affluent patients who already have access to private care and top-tier internet, while systematically locking out the most vulnerable among us. This is literally the exact opposite of what ethical technology is supposed to achieve. AI should be a bridge to better care, right? Not a wall that keeps people out.
The ethical dimension of all this is profound. Dementia touches the very core of human identity, autonomy, and dignity. As the Stanford Center for Ethics in AI so perfectly put it, human-centered and culturally responsive design is essential for building equitable technology. Involving diverse caregivers, clinicians, and people actually living with dementia isn't just some nice-to-have bonus feature. It's an absolute fundamental requirement if we want to ensure trust and fairness in these systems.
Okay, let's shift gears to Section 4, Building Inclusive Dementia Tech. Here is the blueprint for developers. There is actually an empowering roadmap to fix this, a real path to fair AI. First up, developers absolutely must diversify training data. They need to collect inclusive datasets across different languages and ethnicities. Second, they have to collaborate across borders, building partnerships between universities, NGOs, and local communities globally. Third is cultural localization, meaning designing interfaces that are actually culturally sensitive. Fourth, they need to ensure affordable access through open source tech and public funding. And finally, continuous auditing. Since AI is constantly learning, we have to regularly evaluate these systems for bias the second new data emerges. And finally, Section 5, What Caregivers Must Know. This is your actionable playbook. Now, you might be wondering, what if I'm not a developer? Well, if you're on the front lines of care, trying to navigate this promising but admittedly flawed tech landscape, here are your empowering takeaways. First, AI tools are great helpers, but they should never, ever replace professional medical advice. Knowing about the biases we just discussed, you should always confirm any AI-generated results with a real human healthcare provider. Next, when you're choosing tools, actively look for dementia care apps that are multilingual, affordable, and explicitly user-tested on older adults. And lastly, use your voice. Advocate for inclusive design by giving your direct feedback to the developers. Tell them exactly what's working and what completely misses the mark. Look, AI holds immense promise for dementia care. But tackling this bias isn't just some technical hurdle we need to jump over. It's a profound moral responsibility. If we can get this right, we're not just restoring memory, we're restoring dignity, hope, and equality for everyone affected by dementia. Which leaves us with this final, critical thought to ponder. Will tomorrow's AI reflect the true diversity of humanity?